Since he doesn't fight this guy, who would you like to see him fight? Or are you going to wait until he fights this guy?
I don't know. We'll see how this thing plays out over the next couple weeks. But yeah, if we can't get this fight done, we'll move on quickly.
I was going to say, Dana, my last thought on that. How long are you going to wait? I mean, how long is it worth waiting for?
A couple weeks.
A couple weeks?
Jon Jones scared to fight you.
Yes.
Fight you.
Yes. Jon is haunting the public. The fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou 3 years, and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year.
Is that fight fucking happening?
The UFC are saying that it's going to happen. I think it's down to him and Dana.
Dana loves Jon Jones.
He's trying to grease up his ego a little bit.
Dana White has revealed that Jon Jones is demanding $42 million to defend his heavyweight title against interim champion Tom Aspinall. This disclosure has reignited public criticism of the stalled state of the heavyweight division and drawn attention to what many now call a prolonged negotiation deadlock. For months, fans and fighters have speculated about when or if Jones would return to defend his belt, while an injury was initially cited to explain the delay. White's comments make it clear that the issue has evolved into a dispute over compensation, one that may not be resolved.
Is Jon Jones scared to fight you?
Yes. Jon is haunting the public. The fact that he didn't want to fight Ngannou for 3 years, and now he's not wanting to fight me for over a year.
Is that fight happening?
The UFC are saying that it's going to happen. I think it's down to him and Dana.
Dana loves Jon Jones.
He's trying to grease up his ego a little bit. I think he's one of the best fighters ever. Definitely top 3. That's debatable when you start putting in about drug tests and stuff like that, I think.
Damn. What drug are you talking about specifically?
The figure itself, $42 million, stands out not just for its sheer size, but for what it represents within the UFC. It far surpasses any purse historically granted to a fighter in the promotion's history. Even Conor McGregor, who has broken pay-per-view records and headlined global events, has never been officially reported to have earned that much in a single disclosed UFC purse. The amount being discussed positions Jon Jones in a unique spot, as he is now asking for a sum that could dramatically redefine the standard pay scale. To some, this appears to be a bold negotiating tactic. To others, it looks like a refusal to fight unless the promotion agrees to unprecedented financial terms.
What would it take to fight Tom Aspinall from the UFC? Like, what does the UFC got to do?
Said something real wild on off the cuff. I'll see you guys later.
That's it.
Yeah,
right.
thanks for the happy.
Jon Jones, a legend.
Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall has done everything expected of a champion, awaiting after stepping in on short notice to defeat Sergey Pavlovich in the first round. Aspinall has remained active, vocal, and ready to fight. He has repeatedly stated that he wants the unification bout and considers himself fully prepared for the challenge. However, his frustration has become increasingly apparent as he is forced to wait while Jon Jones, the official title holder, weighs his options or stalls negotiations entirely, depending on one's view.
I'm imposing an International Fight Week deadline. Right here and now, I'm imposing this deadline. And by the way, they announced that they're going to do a press conference tour for Canelo Crawford, and one of the stops is June 27th, the day before Ilya versus Charles, International Fight Week, 317. I'm imposing an International Fight Week deadline. An announcement must be made. A decision must be made. That's when the eyes of the MMA world are on the UFC. It's their Super Bowl.
The standoff is affecting more than just the two fighters at its center. It's holding up the entire heavyweight division. Other top contenders like Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, and Jailton Almeida are all left waiting to see how the title picture unfolds. Without clarity at the top, it becomes nearly impossible to build meaningful matchups or establish a clear path to a title shot for anyone else. The longer this drags on, the more stagnant the heavyweight landscape becomes. Fighters within the UFC are often told that opportunities must be earned, that the path to a title is built through consistent performances, tough wins, and a willingness to face any opponent. Aspinall has done all of that. His activity, both in the octagon and in media appearances, has only strengthened his case as the rightful next challenger for the undisputed belt.
Yeah, he's left the whole level. That you can't beat now. Yeah, I couldn't have somebody else saying they're going to beat me and not at least fight. And then if I lose, at least I tried my best. There's a lot of politics in the UFC at the top level. It's just like, out of my hands, so there's nothing I can really do.
Yet he remains in limbo, unable to secure the fight he has earned, because the man above him is, according to White, demanding a figure that would be nearly impossible to justify based on previous pay standards. This situation also raises the question of what message it sends when a champion can hold onto a belt without defending it, and when massive financial demands are used to delay fights. The legitimacy of the title itself comes into doubt. Fighters and fans alike have pointed out that a belt must be defended to maintain its value. Otherwise, the interim belt becomes more meaningful by default, not because the organization designates it so, but because its holder is the one actually willing to step into the octagon.
Well, that's the hard thing about giving opinions. On this, because it's just opinions. Like, we don't know the facts of what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know what's been said from Jon's side or Aspinall's side, and I do give Aspinall the benefit of the doubt, believing that if he did think the Jon Jones fight was going to happen, like, he probably would have taken another fight. Where we're comparing it with the Chandler situation. It felt to me, I was a little more adamant about that.
Jon Jones has remained mostly quiet about the Aspinall situation. His public statements have focused largely on recovering from injury or hinting at other legacy fights, such as the now postponed bout with Stipe. Once billed as a generational showdown, that fight has lost some of its appeal due to long delays and a lack of scheduling progress. Meanwhile, the suggestion that Jones might hold out until he is paid $42 million to fight someone like Aspinall has only strengthened the growing perception that the champion is more interested in selective matchmaking than in defending his belt against the next rightful challenger.
He's gonna wipe the floor. He's gonna wipe the floor with Jon Jones.
You believe
Jon Jones doesn't have a chance versus Tom Aspinall. Mark my words. Tom Aspinall is a freaking monster.
I love it.
On his feet and on the ground. So, and I truly believe that Jon Jones has never faced somebody that is that good on his feet.
While some would argue that Jon Jones has earned the right to call his shots due to his long-standing dominance in the sport, others point to the obligations that come with holding a championship. Defending the belt is not just a personal choice, it is a requirement that validates the legitimacy of the title and keeps the division moving forward. The sport does not exist in a vacuum. Fans pay for pay-per-views and tune in with the expectation that championships are earned and defended, not negotiated into a...
No, I think he does do this because, Alex Perez now he's like a star in the UFC, everybody loves him, so he knows what he's doing, but I believe he should fight against Aspinall, but I think he's a little bit afraid of him, because Aspinall is someone who can really stop him and beat him.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's what I think, that he believes he can, find
The financial ask also raises practical concerns. The UFC's revenue model depends heavily on pay-per-view sales, and while Jon Jones remains a significant draw, it's unclear whether a fight with Aspinall, however intriguing to hardcore fans, would generate enough revenue to justify a $42 million payout. A figure like this would likely require a massive renegotiation of the UFC's long-standing compensation structure or force the promotion to assume substantial financial risk. For an organization that has historically kept tight control over fighter pay, this request may be viewed less as a genuine demand and more as a calculated statement.
We've been denied. No different than the girl's school that you're chasing and she's telling you no. Lose steam. This fight is a smaller fight now than it was 3 months ago. Aspinall versus Jones. By the way, I don't maintain for the to be resurrected one press conference, one Instagram live. I don't. I'm just sharing for you right now. Jones and Aspinall was not only hotter 3 months ago, it was hotter than that 5 months ago. And it is coming to...
Aspinall supporters have grown louder in recent weeks, with many, including his own father, calling for the title to be stripped if it is not defended soon. The argument is simple. If the champion cannot, or will not, defend the belt within a reasonable period, then the interim champion should be elevated and the division should be allowed to move forward. It's not about punishment, it's about keeping the sport active and fair. Champions should not be exempt from the same standards that apply to the rest of the roster.
Fans shouldn't even have to make a petition to strip Jon Jones of the belt. That just shows you how dumb the UFC matchmaking is, especially when it comes to Jon Jones and all the way that the UFC operates around Jon Jones. The way that Jon Jones has Dana and the organization by the nuts is crazy.
In the past, prolonged inactivity by champions has led to the creation of interim belts and, eventually, to the stripping of the main title. This framework exists to ensure that no single fighter can control the pace of an entire division. In this case, however, an interim champion is already in place, yet he finds himself waiting for a fight that may never materialize, unless the organization agrees to terms that many regard as unrealistic.
That would be beyond disappointing, actually, from a marketing standpoint, from a landscape of where the UFC is standpoint. That would be a complete pay-per-view disaster.
we'd see the strength of the UFC brand at Madison Square Garden if that ends up being, because all respect to Tom, but he has never headlined a pay-per-view, so plopping him at the top of Madison Square Garden against Cyril Gane I think would be tough, but we'll see what they can do.
That was tough. I mean, you'd have to have.
The fans are growing increasingly impatient. The heavyweight division is one of the most closely watched in combat sports and has historically delivered some of the most memorable fights in UFC history. Right now, however, it feels stalled, and that perception is harming not just the fighters involved, but the UFC brand as a whole. Events lose momentum when there's no clear title picture. And when fans start to feel that championships are negotiated rather than earned, it erodes trust in the sport's meritocracy. If the situation continues, the promotion may be forced to act, whether that means stripping the title, rescheduling the Miocic fight with an interim belt on the line, or promoting the interim champion outright.
It remains to be seen.
But it's the legacy. To be able to go to the heavyweight division, take out everyone, and then take out the Jon Jones legend, you know, and then go back to even beating a few of these new school guys, will literally put Tom Aspinall as the GOAT of the heavyweight division.
But what's clear is
that the $42 million figure revealed during this long stretch of silence has become a symbol of a larger issue. According to Din Thomas, the prolonged delay in making Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall official is no accident. He sees the situation as a calculated move, a deliberate marketing tactic designed to build anticipation and keep the fight in the spotlight. From his perspective, every moment of silence, every cryptic social media post, and every public jab from Aspinall isn't just a stalemate. It's part of a larger strategy. Thomas pointed out that the ongoing chatter about the fight, despite it not being signed, has often overshadowed actual events, proving how effective the buzz has been in capturing fan interest. To him, this is a textbook example of promotion done right, and he's confident that the bout will be announced likely as the headline for a major card later this year.
But if he never steps into the cage with you and you two never fight, what do you think that does for his legacy, but also for your legacy? Is it possible for you to be the best and be the greatest without beating him?
That's someone else's opinion, to be honest. It doesn't really matter to me.
That sort of stuff doesn't bother
No.
you, as long as you're fighting the people
I can only
in front of you.
I can only control.
Jon Jones, the current undisputed heavyweight champion, hasn't fought since his win over Stipe Miocic. While many assumed his next bout would be a unification fight with Tom Aspinall, Jones recently stated that he couldn't really care less about making that fight happen. Combined with the slow pace of negotiations and a lack of public commitment, this has fueled growing concerns throughout the MMA community. Meanwhile, interim champion Tom Aspinall has been ready, vocal, and willing to compete, yet with every passing week, it seems he's being left in limbo. Daniel Cormier, Jon Jones's longtime rival, has been especially critical. According to Cormier, Jones's recent comments have confirmed what many had long suspected. He questions why it took Jones so long to openly admit he lacked motivation to fight Aspinall, suggesting that this delay allowed doubt to grow around Jones's willingness to face the interim champion. In Cormier's view, if Jones had been upfront about his disinterest from the start, the narrative would have been much clearer. Instead, the prolonged silence created the perception that Jones might be avoiding a very dangerous opponent. Cormier sees Aspinall as a distinctly different challenge from the contenders Jones has faced in the past. And for him, the threat isn't just hypothetical, it's rooted in timing. At 38 years old, Jones is no longer the same fighter who once dominated the light heavyweight division. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more new updates. *.